Hello, everybody. This is Will Tagle. I'm Dean of the Wisdom Graduate School of Ubiquity University and also of the Earth Tribe. And we welcome you today from all over our beautiful blue planet. Our theme for today is awakening your wild creative heart through the tuning of the Teotihuacan pyramids. We're having with us Emily Grieves and Alberto Hernández Romero, and I'll introduce them a little bit more specifically later. This is a special time for us in Texas with the dance and encounter that we've had with the weather spirit that the mainstream called Harvey, but probably has some other names that it would call itself. These are difficult times, but also possible times. And it's very good for us today to be able to tune into our wild and creative hearts. In order to focus us and create a milieu for us to get started, Judith is going to begin with a song.
Thank you, Will. Hi, everybody. So good to be with you and to see Alberto and Emily here with us. I'm just gonna, a small intro song just to bring us together. Spirits weave our circle tight, hold us in your perfect light. Earth, air, fire, and water brings us to you. Aho.
Aho. Well, as I said, we're really, really privileged to have Emily with us today. Emily Grieves. Emily is a Fulbright scholar in artistic expression, and she's made her home in La Casa de Suenos, where she lives with her husband, Victor Manuel Reyes Contla, and her son, her beautiful son, Marco. Welcome, Emily.
Thank you. I'm very, very honored to be able to join you today. Thank you so much for the invitation.
So I want us to just leap into the experience. And by doing that, I want you to tell us a little bit about your story of coming to the pyramids and Casa de Suenos and how this has shaped your life and your art.
Well, it's definitely quite a story, and has been an experience of following the call of the divine, of following intuition. And how it all arose was that I was called to come to Teotihuacan without even really knowing anything about the place, what it was, but I had connected with a person who had a shaman store in Berkeley, California, who had put out a call for artwork. And since I'm an artist, and I've for many years created artwork from a shamanic sensibility, a sensibility of working through symbol to discover more deeply what this thing is that we call life. And when I connected with this woman, she told me that she was going to Teotihuacan. And I said, "You're going where?" It's something about the name pulled at my heart. And without knowing anything about it, I knew that I had to visit this place at some point. And as it turned out, she was visiting with Heather Ash. And she went and came back and said, "I saw you all over this place. It was like literally you were there." And so I worked hard, saved up my money for a year and a half. And in 2004, in July of 2004, came here to Teotihuacan with Heather Ash, who brought a group together with Lee McCormick. They were co-teaching the group. And during the extraordinary time that I had on this journey here in the pyramids, which just began to open layers and layers of understanding about myself and how my mind works and how I've formed my beliefs and how those beliefs are often limiting me stepping further into who I actually am and what I'm here to do. It was a journey of great awareness and rapid opening. And on this journey, Heather Ash and Lee brought us over to this beautiful place that is the Dreaming House. And at that time, it looked considerably different than it does now. And they had graciously organized a fiesta for us. And I spent the evening looking at the sky and the stars and the Pirul, California peppercorn trees, and just feeling really at home there. And towards the end of the evening, it was a fairly large group, and so everyone was eagerly looking at Alberto's obsidian sculptures and pieces that were so symbolic for what we were going through. And towards the end of the evening, I finally approached Alberto to look at his work. And it occurred to me to share with him that I'm an artist, that I'm a painter, which is not how I ordinarily identified myself at that point in time. I usually identified myself by my day job, which at that point was as a legal assistant in commercial real estate in the financial district of San Francisco. And something in that moment had me say, I'm an artist. And he looks at me, I said, I'm a painter, and Alberto looks at me and says, oh, you can paint the mural. And I said, sure. And he turns to Lee, and Lee says, sure, you can paint the mural. And I said, okay, great. I have no idea what you're talking about. But that moment was the moment that changed my entire life. It was as if I stepped into alignment with the choreography that life had designed for me. And Alberto recognized it through his intuition, and it was something that was recognized, like a seed was planted in that moment. And what really happened was, the party ended, and I traveled around, the journey ended, and I traveled around Mexico for another week. And by the time I got home to my home in Oakland and opened the door to my apartment, it was as if I was walking into a stranger's house. Something had been so deeply shifted within me that it was literally, I couldn't step back into old patterns and old habits or even old spaces. And I have a deep relationship with the Virgin of Guadalupe. And on that journey, it had been important to me to visit her basilica in Mexico City, where she appeared 500 years ago. And through the experience that I had there, and I actually had a vision of the Virgin of Guadalupe here in the pyramids on that first trip, a powerful vision where she appeared to me in a temple, butterflies of Quetzalcoatl. And so as I got home to the States and I'm in this in-between limbo space, I asked her, my divine mother, who I believe to be my divine mother, the Virgin of Guadalupe, I asked her, am I supposed to go to Mexico and paint a mural? And I got a very clear yes as an answer. And so what really happened then is I had the opportunity, I had the choice, free will, to respond or not. But the yes was so clear to me that I had to follow it. It was as if she had given me a mandate. And so I, in a pretty short period of time, rid myself of all of my worldly possessions and showed up here in Teotihuacan, participated in a journey again with Heather Ash and Lee. And then Alberto and his family very generously opened up their homes to me and took me to the Dreaming House and said, paint whatever you want, wherever you want. It was an artist's dream, literally, to be able to step fully into that and claim that for myself. And what was interesting is that I never actually painted the mural that was the one that sparked the conversation. It was supposed to be of a Tititla eagle, and it was for a structure that they never ended up building. But what that mural actually ended up being was the mural that I painted of the Virgin of Guadalupe that's in the meeting room, the Virgin Salon, as we call it now, at the Dreaming House. Because when I went into that space, Alberto told me that he wanted to put a figure of the Virgin of Carmen that's now in a chapel at the front end of the property in that room, which was going to be a meeting room, a meditation room. And they said, paint some clouds behind it or something. And when I was looking at that blank wall that measures 9 feet by 17 feet, the Virgin of Guadalupe came to me again and said, you have to paint your vision that you had in the Palace of the Butterflies on this wall. And so again, I received a mandate, and again, I had an opportunity to really step up and claim that for myself as I'm going to follow the mandate. I'm going to fulfill the mission that I'm being given. And through that process, I learned so much about myself, about the place that was holding me, Teotihuacan, which is a living being. And to be able to go into that space frequently and sketch and dream and observe and feel the sensations, and to begin to listen on a deeper level from the teachings that are contained in the very stones there, have been an infinite blessing in my life, and one that I feel very honored to be able to share with people through my artwork, that people now come and observe and interact with this mural of the Virgin of Guadalupe standing in the columns of the Temple of Quetzalcoatl is a gift and a blessing to me, and one that I'm so honored to be able to share with the world.
So good, wonderful. Let me pause here for just a moment, because we have a lot of people here with us today from all over the world. Some know about Teotihuacan, the pyramids, and some don't. So I want to introduce this powerful tuning experience that you're having in the Palace of the Butterflies, and talk a little bit about that, but just creating a context for a moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So these ancient people, the Toltecs, I'm not going to tell this part of the story from an archaeological point of view, but from the point of view of the oral tradition that I've connected with through Alberto and other people, that the pyramids were built by people who were tuning into the cosmos for consciousness. And they created a pathway that we follow in our pyramid of the Academy of the Pyramid each year at the Day of the Dead. So we follow a pathway of consciousness that basically is tuning in our individual consciousness into the larger matrix of consciousness that is our universe and beyond. So just that brief statement there. And in a way, you're demonstrating this. So here you come from Berkeley or Oakland, and you come into this place. You don't know why you're there exactly. And suddenly you're identifying yourself as an artist, which is beyond the identity that you have thought of yourself. It's like the pyramid is pulling this identity out of you. The larger Emily is being called forth. And you're connecting then with the divine feminine in the form of the Virgin of Guadalupe. And then the painting begins to come out of you. In some ways, from my perspective, we could say that the Great Mother is painting through you.
Absolutely.
So I'll pause right there, and you can continue. I just wanted to insert that.
I think those are really important points that you make, Will. And in fact, I felt that way as I was painting her. It was a mammoth task. I studied art in college, and then went on to, work corporate jobs and to paint really expressionist things, and the opportunity to paint, the Virgin of Guadalupe in these columns that were very specific and very distinct, created at the time that they were made with great intention. It was on some level way beyond what I thought I had the capacity to do as an artist. And I was, thankful that I'd had painting 101, I actually studied printmaking. But I was so thankful to have sort of these technical things to fall back on that I'd studied so many years beforehand. But there were moments when, it took me a year and a half to paint the mural. I did lots of other things during that time, but there were moments when it would be very late at night and I'd have this reflector light, or the power would go out, I'd be painting like candlelight. I'd be on the top of a ladder in some crazy yoga position on the floor. But she pushed me to touch into what I'm actually really capable of doing. And there were moments, specifically when I was painting her face and her hands, where I prayed to her. I said, please, Mother, I lend you my hand, paint through me. And it was the only way. I mean, even to this day, I think I can't, and in fact, I have an image of right behind my head up there, a clay print someone made. But, to this day, I feel like I can't actually claim that I painted that mural. I lent my hand to her, and she came through transmitting her own gifts and blessings. And I think that that's how people perceive that mural and interact with it, is something that exists in a realm beyond human capacity to create that. Evidently the words fail me to even talk about it. Well, I just feel thankful and grateful.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful way to express it. See, that you're defining for us what I mean by the wild heart. Some people ask me, I wrote a book about that, the wild heart, and asked me what that means. And what it means is what you're expressing. That is a sense of being taken over by powers and spirits beyond your own control.
Mm-hmm.
And it emphasizes for us that we humans think we have that much control when we just have a tiny little control. And if we open ourselves the way you're speaking, then we're transmitting. We have the possibility of transmitting information and wisdom and images and arts and creativity coming through us, so that, wow, we don't even know if it's Emily or not. It's Emily's all mixed in there. I mean, after all, you're a Fulbright scholar, for crying out loud. But Emily's in there. But coming through is something far greater. And I want to ask Dan if he'll bring up an image. And you can comment. So if you just let all of us be with that for a moment and then comment on it.
Okay. So this is a painting of obviously the Virgin of Guadalupe that I created last December when I taught a workshop on painting her in Sonoma, California. And so the painting's up against a very large grandmother tree in the Sonoma Plaza, because when we finished our paintings, we went and made a procession in the center of Sonoma and went to the mission there and asked for healing of the indigenous peoples and ancestors with our paintings. It was very powerful to connect the image of the mother with both the natural land that still is there in the center and the ancestry that has suffered in such an intense way throughout the Americas, the indigenous ancestors. And to bring a healing full circle, we were guided by a Mexican-American curandera through that experience. And the class I taught was with a woman that I studied with and who is now a dear friend, of mine who I've had the opportunity to co-teach with. Her name is Shiloh Sophia McLeod. And I want to mention her because I always like to honor the lineage of people that I study with and who are important to me in the tradition of intentional creativity, which is really using artwork as a way to be in personal inquiry and in prayer. So using creative process to bring about change both for ourselves and for the world that we live in.
Yeah, good. And I've my own experience of the eclipse that we just experienced in North America was that the moon moved in front of the sun, so that the divine feminine moved in front of the divine masculine. And for varying amounts of time, perhaps we're in an era when the divine feminine is moving in front of and taking the forefront from the divine masculine. And this is such a beautiful expression of that.
Thank you, Will.
Okay, Dan is going to move to another piece. So that's breathtaking. What?
There's the mural, yeah.
This is the mural you were talking about a few moments ago.
So this is the mural at the Dreaming House that she asked me to paint based on that vision I had of her in the palace of Quetzalcoatl. And so the you can see her in the center, and the columns there are the columns that actually appear in that palace. And during that time, you could actually go into the center of that temple and experience really powerful energies rising up out of a hole in the center of it that was connected to the drainage system. The Teotihuacanos were masterful engineers and architects, but specifically around the conduiting water. And so in the center of that temple, they could fill it with water. And apparently, 1,500, 2,000 years ago, the floor of the temple was paved with obsidian. And so when they would fill it with water and it's open to the sky, this temple, it acted as an observatory. So you could look into the reflection in the water off of the obsidian and see all of the movements of the astral bodies there. And there were lots of markers around the temple, both in these columns, but also above it, where they could make measurements around the movements of the stars and know different things about the calendar cycles and the seasons and the energies of those specific times. Like you're just mentioning the eclipse. I have no doubt that they had the capacity to measure when an eclipse would happen back during that time. And the images in the columns are all, the Teotihuacanos were masterful artists in such a way that art was an integral part of their life. There was really no difference. They adorned everything with symbol, from the most mundane object to the most majestic pyramid, with symbol and image that would remind them constantly of their connection to the sacred. And the sacred, I really think of that being as the sacred is that which brings you into connection with the divine. Mm-hmm. And so you can kind of get a sense from looking at these columns how there's a visual language going on that the people would have understood at the time, and that we now can begin to understand or glean meaning from by dreaming with these symbols. And you can see that there are these birds that are sort of the main focus of the columns, but that there are also eyes above and below, and these sort of curved conch-like symbols that also reflect the conch of our inner ear. So there's seeing and listening being evoked in their symbolism. And the Divine Mother should appear within the context of the seeing and the hearing and the feeling. There's symbols for water in there. And in all of the symbols that the Teotihuacanos used for water, there's a sense of water being alive, water being conscious. They actually put eyes frequently in the water. And so there's a sense of interconnectedness of life, of listening, of seeing, and that the Divine Mother appears within that, is a teaching for us that which she gives birth to, which is us and all of creation, that we can find connection to each other and to her through opening our senses, all of our senses, our sense of touch, our sense of hearing, our sense of sight, our sense of connecting to that which we can't even see, the merging of the visible and the invisible, through deeper and deeper inquiry. There's so much going on in just this mural that you can get a sense of how much is actually going on in Teotihuacan as a library, a university of wisdom.
Yeah, so this mural that you're talking about is in the room where we build altars, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so for those of you, there are many people on this call who will be coming for the day to Teotihuacan, and many people who may want to consider this. But one of the beautiful artistic expressions that we have as a group is that we build altars to our ancestors within the room that Emily has painted this mural. And so when you come into the room, it will be ablaze with flowers and with altars that we build. And people ask me, why do you come back to Teotihuacan year after year? And Judith and I have been coming for quite some time now, and Heather Ash has been coming quite a bit longer than we have. And the reason that I come back is in a way, my soul thirsts for this enlarged perspective. And as I sit in the presence there, many presences, it's like my chest is opened and my beating heart is exposed to the large heart that we're seeing in some of your work. So I want to come back in a few moments, Emily, particularly to a painting that you did with Marco and others. But first I want to shift over now for a few moments to Alberto Hernández Romero. There we are. So Alberto, I just want to introduce you to everybody in our circle, and how I described you was that you are a force of nature. And can you hear me? Okay, good. So Alberto is the fountainhead of the opening that Spirit has manifested, the Casa de Suenos, and he's a sculptor, renowned sculptor. His family embraces all of us who come there. And I want to begin, though, by noting, Alberto, that you actually grew up in the confines, the boundaries of the pyramids. And if you would tell us just a little bit about that.
Well, what I have to tell you is that I'm feel proud very much about Teotihuacan because I born there. I'm born right there. I'm born not far from the main temples of Teotihuacan. In 1962, I born just 30-40 meters from the main road of the road is around to the temples, around to all the to the area, all Teotihuacan. My grandmother, she used to own part of that property from the south part of Quetzalcoatl area, and thanks to that, my father and my mother, they were in the same property. And in 1962, right in that year, I born, and I, thanks to I born in that area and close to the house of my grandmother. Thanks to that, I learned a lot of things from Teotihuacan, and make me to feel the important things like to preserve, to keep the most better way to respect that place, because most of the people around the area, they live and they used to live, but they used to find a way of living, but not exactly to respect like we believe, because my grandmother used to believe a lot to these temples and used to respect a lot. And probably that's thanks to my grandmother, and thanks to that I born in that area, I have that connection to Teotihuacan.
Yes, and you express a lot of the deep spirit that really is in the cells of your body as a result of growing up actually in the presence of the pyramids before the Mexican government moved your family out to where you are now. And to walk into your gallery of sculpture, obsidian sculptures, is like stepping into a dimension beyond which expression can come to fruition. You just really, your beautiful work. And I'm going to have Dan bring one of your pieces up for us to look at. And if you would comment about how you sculpt these pieces and how they come out of your life. So this is one, Dan, if you'll show.
Well, that piece is an obsidian, and made in a gold obsidian with different small details. It's more the details I can tell you is right in the center, down to where are the two faces of the two lovers. There are the flower of the four leaves. The four leaves flower means always energy, the feminine energy. And then the other side is the moon and the sun, which have down another flowers. Is like more or less like, I consider it like a lotus flower, which is all, everything is connected with the love of the universe, and the love exists on the energy on this universe. Teotihuacan represents a lot of the stuff related with the connection between the human being to the cosmos, and everything was created in Teotihuacan was thanks to that connection. Those people they used to live in Teotihuacan. But this other thing I have to tell you is the material we use to make these ideas of obsidian. The material is obsidian. It's one of the sacred stones and one of the most wonderful healing stones we have, or probably exist on the world. This stone is used for many different purposes, for many different reasons, and it depends what is the meaning. But for example, the right piece you have now is a jaguar warrior. Is a jaguar warrior, which represents one of the angels in those days for them, which representing more or less the connection they have between the animals and the human. But it's very important to what I want to tell you. In this world we live in this time, it's completely in the opposite way. For the cosmos, for the mother nature, for everything what exists around, and everybody we're living in harmony. That kind of thing is raw now. It's too much damage, and what we have to work now is to beginning to change all these ideas, and to change with the new generations all these vision they have from the world. We have to really respect our Mother Earth a lot, and we have to remember one of the most important things. Those peoples and the cultures and the old ways and the old years, they used to have that big respect, and that thanks to that they created a wonderful, lovely cities like Teotihuacan.
Yes, and I want to come back to the first sculpture for a moment, where you were showing the masculine and the feminine. And for people who have not seen you and me together in dialogue, you have this crazy idea that I share that Tezcatlipoca and Quetzalcoatl were actually male and female lovers.
Well, the thing is that I believe very much that we always talking about Quetzalcoatl was a man, but really what I believe very much was who was representing Teotihuacan, Quetzalcoatl for sure was feminine. And the feminine energy in Teotihuacan was the most powerful energy existing in those years. Probably in those years was most important or was mixed together, these two energies, female and men, both parts to make these great cities and this great world. They have their own paradise they create in that place. But the other thing I have to tell you is, in these years, many of these cities are manifested in the world. Why? Because many people they working and making to come back to the spirituality, to the way back to that origin, that purpose that they used to was this world, to respect everybody within peace and love. But the other thing very important is all the expressions came from the human in these days, in these years, they beginning change. For example, when you ask me about this carving, you show me is one of the dreams I have when you find a piece of a stone that nice, the stone talking to you to carve in that way. Not exactly. The only thing is you just move hands and move your mind, and that crazy dream is there. Another thing very important in the world, we have to be changed in that much to be in completely different conscious, in different way, because you have to remember that most of the people they used to have ideas and crazy things in mind. Sometimes they believe they are crazy. Well, for this world and for this time, we have to be crazy in a good way. We have to be very crazy in the good way to create good things for the world and for this world change on the Mother Earth.
Yes, I want to underline what you just said for us to take home with us today. Part of what we're being called to do is to be crazy in a good way. That is to allow ourselves, like you, so you take a piece of obsidian, and like Emily, the obsidian tells you what needs to come out of it. And you are the instrument to free the images that want to come out of the obsidian.
And in all the humans we are in this world, in some way we have to wake up that part of healing part we have in ourselves, and we can heal this world, and we can heal people in our way, in our part of things we have to do in this world. Everybody we have to have that mission to say we have to make something for this world change, but we have to wake up. No matter if the people they say or anybody say these people are very, very crazy. And this is something I like that people tell me. I'm very crazy, but I'm crazy and happy to show what I can do for making things change in the area, in the area we live. We have to make a lot of work in this. Everywhere we go, everywhere we live, we have to make something to change in good way that area, that place, that city, that country.
Yes, and for those of you who may want to come with us either this time or sometime in the future, we go to this little village, and the Dreaming House is the economic center of this village. And you're looking at Alberto, who has these great visions, and yet the village itself is benefiting from all of the, quote, crazy ideas he has. And one of the evenings, Alberto and I will be talking about this year, that is the capitalism of consciousness. That is, we're seeking a new civilization where the primary product is the consciousness of love. So it may come out in the form of painting, as with Emily, or it may come out in sculpture, or it may come out in the beautiful food that the Dreaming House serves, or it may come out in the beautiful sleep we get from being in these beautiful rooms in this really profound setting. But underneath all of that, what we are transmitting is the consciousness of love. So if you will, Emily, you and Alberto will hang out here with us a bit longer. I'm going to ask Heather Ash if you will respond a bit. I think, Heather Ash, maybe you're in Bogota or somewhere in Colombia. So if you'll respond to the theme that we're exploring today.
Hey everyone. Yep, I'm outside of Bogota right now.
Hello, hello.
And it's just so delightful, as Sheila and I were sharing behind the scenes, just to feel the amount of love that's here. And that's one thing that around this whole topic around creation and art and community, that what I've seen happen in the Dreaming House over the years that I've been going there is just the amount of family and love, and that when people come there for the first time, almost everyone I've ever talked to is like, oh my gosh, I feel so held and so loved and so nurtured by everything here, the art, the people, the food. And we need more of that in our lives as humans that are in this process of transformation. With all the things that are going on in the world, I feel like it's really important for us, wherever we can get it, to find community and places where we can be nourished, by the land, we can be held by the ancestors and reconnect with our ancestors, and also where we can be really nourished by people. I feel like there's such a deficit right now of that kind of healing, love, support, gratitude, holding. And so that's why I have come back to Teotihuacan over and over and over again, is because it's really a place for us to rejuvenate our batteries and to come back home to ourselves, so that we can then bring that energy back with us into our lives and help to shift our communities and bring more love and resilience and playfulness and creativity back with us. So thank you so much, Emily and Alberto, for being with us, for the internet, that we can connect Mexico, Colombia, and everywhere else that everyone is calling in from. Mwah. All my love to everyone.
Yeah, I always just feel like my heart leaps up when Judith and I see you, and so I can't wait for us to get together at the end of October. We'll be here before you know it. So I want to shift over, Van, if you'll bring in Michelle Blair from Fort Worth, I believe it is.
Oh, what a rich presentation. Thank you so much, Emily and Alberto. I thought what a perfect timing after that we planned, or this call was planned with creativity, and with the flood in Texas, I thought this resounding creativity was going to be our salvation through times of that we don't, what we see is not quite what we understand on a deeper level. I was fortunate to go on the pilgrimages and to Chartres as well as to Spain, and the thing that kept resonating for me was this idea that there are these power places in the world, whether it be Chartres or the Andalusian area. And I'm lucky I get to go to the pyramids this year for the first time in Mexico, but I keep seeing almost the same vocabulary or language that's being expressed in a in a different way, or a unique way, just like Emily took the synchronistic events that happened in her life and then found her own unique expression of those gifts in Mexico. And then here we have the same thing happening even in these places around the world that are all speaking to us. So even from Black Madonnas to the obsidian sculptures of Alberto, I thought it was just amazing about this idea that as much as we look for light, there's also this incredible rich darkness that is being offered to us.
Good, thank you, Michelle. Let me ask you something. What if you could describe something of you're describing being in Chartres and Andalusia and so on as these PowerPoints. In some ways, I think of this as acupressure points on the skin of Mother Earth. And what is some of your attraction to coming to Teotihuacan?
Well, I think the theme of or what's happening with the divine feminine, to me is I know this year I believe that's what this particular intensive will be geared towards. But for me, it's also having the experience of or consciousness of being able to be in a place that will help me to understand within myself, but also within humanity. Because as much as I like to sit in my own little world, I do think it takes me to a place that stretches me and my thinking in different culture. So it's expansive, and also I'm looking forward to being with a community of people that we're all together and be able to connect in a way that's meaningful.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm looking forward to being with you. So you're a PhD student in the Wisdom School.
Yes.
And, I'm looking forward to our being there together. There'll be students, graduate students, but also there'll be many other people who are not in graduate school, that we all share this experience together. And in that regard, I'm going to shift over now to Will Turner. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Will just graduated from Florida State University, and he's an intern with the CCR Earth Tribe now. And I'm going to get your response, Will, from a millennial perspective to this conversation today.
All right. Howdy, y'all. Hola, Alberto. Hola, Emily.
Hola.
It is my pleasure to be here and to listen to all the speakers. And I want to go back in terms of my millennial reaction to what Emily was saying, because myself, I graduated as an artist, and the premier aspect which stood out to me right off the bat from Emily is the courage and the bravery that it takes to go down a path of creativity in this world, which is led to people my age who have just graduated from college to try and drag us into a corporation or a sort of quicksand of logic. And essentially what I'm trying to say is that when I listened to Emily talking about her bravery and stepping into Teotihuacan and embracing her inner artist, for me, I am a musician, and it brings a bit of hope and a bit of faith within me to know that being an artist can help myself and help this earth survive. And I think that moving forward to Alberto and his creation with obsidian, and how the faces and the creatures sort of moved through his hands. I play piano, and I just wrote a song 2 days ago when I was meditating on my pilgrimage, my travels to Teotihuacan, called "The Maiden and the Altar," and I had no idea where it came from, and that was the title of the song. So I look forward to meeting them and speaking about that. The idea of drawing the inner artist and having the bravery to utilize creativity. And then the last woman who spoke, the aspect that from a millennial's perspective, which I'd like to end on, which stood out to me is the idea that creation or creativity is our salvation. And as someone who watches the news and is very aware of how Mother Nature is very powerful and is taking action all across the world, not just in Texas, but in Indonesia and all across the globe, to hear from her that creativity is our salvation just brightens my smile, and that I hopefully will have the power to spread my creativity, which will then spread more love. And I just look forward to traveling to this sacred area. And I feel, especially when Emily was talking, this like inner just artist, just like a fire burning in my gut, just telling me that I made the right choice to graduate and to make it possible for me to visit this area. And so for everyone out there who is traveling to this area, I look forward to meeting you. And for anyone who is thinking about doing it in the future, just off of this this alchemy of individuals and love that I felt from this across the internet, I can tell you that it is one of the best decisions that I've made. So Alberto y Emily, el gusto es mío, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Y hablo español. So.
Thank you so much. Wow.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Will. So yeah, it's really a privilege for us to share together.
Okay, great. Well, I just have to speak. I came to the pilgrimage with Heather Ash in June, and I'm coming back in October with you guys.
Oh, wonderful. Now say your name out loud.
I'm Desra.
Desra. What a
Desra.
great name.
Thank you. But it was very transformational. I'm still processing this trip, to be honest with you. I was in such an altered state through this, and the altar room where Emily has done this amazing mural, it was quite transformational. And like I said, I'm still trying to process some of the experiences that have happened. But I just want to encourage anybody that's ever thinking of going. It is quite a life-changing experience. And I really look forward to meeting up with Emily and Alberto and seeing you guys again. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I look forward to meeting you. And I don't know, you can look on the chat. I think Sheila will put, I think we have an opening or two. We're just nearly full, but we got some openings. So if you're interested in that, well, you can contact.
Oh, I'm coming.
Yeah, I know you are. I was just talking to other people that might.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
So thank you. Let's circle back around to Emily now for a moment. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about this painting, Emily.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So it's funny because I just pulled this painting out of the archives a couple days ago to share it on Facebook because it seemed so timely once again with the flooding that's been going on in Texas and India, Bangladesh, Nepal, around the world, as well as the fires that have been going on in the Northwest and just the effects we're seeing in such an extreme way growing in intensity around the globe. I created this painting for my son's kindergarten class when he was 4, for my son Marco, and he actually helped me with it. He wanted to be involved, and so he had little detail tasks to bring highlighting into the smoke and the clouds, and he helped me paint the edge where I stamped this Teotihuacan symbol of the 4-petaled flower around it. And that year, it was his second year of kindergarten. He was 4. That year, the whole year, the teacher had as a theme to study throughout the year global climate change. And they learned a lot of different things about global climate change that year. And they even established a little garden in the schoolyard. And towards the end of the year, Marco, who apparently was the one who expressed the most interest in this subject, was chosen from the whole entire kindergarten school to attend a district conference on global climate change. And so we went off, and the parents were invited too. And so we went off to this forum. It was really a forum of learning about ways in which we can actually participate in creating change. And so when the teacher asked me to create this, it's like a triptych sort of a thing, like a threefold display board, and I brought it into Marco's classroom and presented it. And we actually had it was basically a way to create discussion amongst the kids. And remember, these are 4-year-olds. And so it really was helpful for them to have a visual on which they could see the way in which all of the aspects are interlinked. That global climate change, for example, doesn't just look like global warming, but that there are many effects and ways in which it shows up in our lives. And one thing I got from this was the power of visual image in helping people learn. And especially with kids, young people, there are ways in which we can understand something visual in a way that's distinct, that we might not be able to process the information as well or as effectively if we're just hearing it or perceiving it in some other way. And so it's been really powerful for me throughout all the years that I've made art to find ways in which image and creativity can serve not only for personal transformation, but actually really as activism and the power of the visual image. And so that's the background on that particular image.
You painted this how many years ago?
5 years ago.
5 years ago. So if
almost 6, yeah.
Yeah, so if you look at the panel on the right, just above your name, there's so much of that is prophetic about this time that we had in Houston, that we're having in Houston. So you see the cars underneath the water, you see the buildings, the water, you see the storm, and the 2 largest refineries in the world are there in the Houston area. And you can see 2 refineries that you have put there. And, what we're experiencing in Texas right now is long lines at the gas pumps because of the perceived shortage of gasoline. So we're really in the midst of the transition from one civilization to another. And following up on the Hopi prophecy that we're moving from the 4th world to the 5th world. And there are those who think, and in oral traditions and elsewhere actually, that Teotihuacan was a kind of a mother that produced the Hopi culture. It also is now becoming apparent that the Teotihuacan may well have birthed the advanced culture up and down the Mississippi River. The word Mississippi is a Nahuatl word, which is the language, the Uto-Aztecan language of the Toltecs. So we're all connected here, and a part of what we're needing in our journey to Teotihuacan is the kind of vision that Emily and Michelle and Alberto are sharing, and Will are sharing with us, that our salvation may well be in our creativity, but also in the love that produces the creativity. And I just want to thank everybody here for being with us today. This is a challenging time, but birthing requires pain at times. and we're birthing into a new domain of consciousness. Next month, on October, I believe it is 7th, we'll be having as our guests people from the Houston area, some who have been to Teotihuacan and others who will be talking about how the consciousness of love is helping them move through this period of time. And we'll look forward to that. And thank you so much, Emily, for being with us, and Alberto.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
For the invitation.
Can I tell you one last thing?
Yes, you can. You can.
I want to tell to everybody in US, those people from Houston and everywhere, they have that kind of problem with the water, with the fluorine. It's that not exists a money who can make all this work you have to make now in Houston. It's not the money, it's the community who have to be together. I mean, people, they have to be like family, come back in that old years that when everybody, they work together, working for one main reason, to be help each other, to be in family, to be find this way that everybody help each other, you know, and that way, not even money can make fast this work. All the people, they have to have this conscious. And as soon as we work together, we're going to change this world in different ways. We have to make more community and be more in peace and love, and keep those crazy dreams you have in mind, make for this main purpose, live in love and peace together.
What a wonderful way to close. And I'm going to ask Judith if you'll sing to us about what Alberto and Emily have been passing on.
Yes, there's lots of synchronicities happening. I think we all know that. And this song is a song I learned a long time ago. I really like it a lot, and it just seems to fit to sing it for all of the people in Houston and for all people everywhere that have a hard time or having a hard time. I don't really know the name of the song, but I'm going to sing it. You'll never be the sun burning in the sky, and you won't be the moon above us on a moonlit night, and you won't be the stars in heaven, although they burn so bright. But even in the deepest ocean, you will be the light. You may not always shine as you go barefoot over stone. You might be so long together, or you might walk alone. And you won't find that love comes easy, but that love is always right. So even when the dark clouds gather, you will be the light. And if you lose a part inside, when love turns round on you, leaving the past behind, is knowing you'll do like you always do, holding you blind, keeping you true. You'll never be the sun turning in the sky, and you won't be the moon above us on a moonlit night, and you won't be the stars in heaven, although they burn so bright. When the dark clouds gather, you will be the light. You will be the light. Blessings.
Blessings.
Blessings. Goodbye, Heather.
Much love to everybody.
Love, love, love.
Bye, beloveds. Thank you, Judith. What an incredible song.
Thank you.